All right, there were a few topics, Ademir, right? You have them on you, right? Okay. So
Yes. So there are a few suggested topics for us to discuss in our roundtable. First of all, I'd like to thank and congratulate all the speakers. Very interesting presentations and very diverse natures. I think everyone ended up touching a different situation and a different aspect of the whole odor management mosaic. Yeah, jigsaw puzzle, maybe. So there are a few questions, but if you allow me, I will maybe start with sort of a dynamic in the sense that Daniela showed us how Chile has been doing odor regulation for more than a decade now. And Deborah presented how we are proposing, or they are proposing, but I mean, I support the need for us to regulate odors in Brazil. Right, so we have two South American friends in very different stages of this odor regulation point. And then Carlos comes in with another dimension of this, which is go beyond the regulation, right? So I think we have here a very cool group of people to discuss the transactional relationships in all of this. So to help with this discussion, someone in the chat asked what you see as the main challenge for odor regulation in Brazil. So maybe if Daniela could make a quick comment on that, oh, not Daniela, sorry, Deborah could make a quick comment on that, then we would have maybe Daniela commenting on how that has happened or is happening in Chile.
Okay, thank you. As I said before, I believe there is the political challenge in Brazil because the regulators they don't have the knowledge about odor, and they just know it's difficult, it's complex, and they don't really want to do the effort to do what Chile is doing. You know, it's a lot of effort. You need to bring together many different sectors. You need to discuss, and there is also the industries. Sometimes they don't understand how a regulation can be good for them. Imagine if you are like a pulp and paper industry or wastewater treatment plant, having an odor regulation is good, because if you don't know when you are, you don't know what odor are you allowed to emit. That's the problem. And so the plant, it's just operating, doing the best they can, but there are neighbors complaining, and the neighbors say, I am being impacted, and the plant said, but I'm not breaking any law. How can you say I'm wrong? And so the problem is that most cases they become, they go to court, and then they take years and years of a battle. You know, no one wants to give up because the neighbors say they are right. The industry say, oh, I'm not wrong, because there's no law saying I'm wrong. And so it's very difficult to reach a solution. When you have a legislation that says, well, you can emit, 5 odor units, or 8 odor units, or whatever, then it's you have a goal that you have to reach. You have to work towards the goal. If you don't have a goal, then it's very difficult. And unfortunately, in Brazil, we don't see that proactivity. But hopefully we will see it in the future, to the point where the industries will see that it's good, to show proactivity and show that you want to be a good neighbor, and maybe do what Christian presented, have a system, have all infrastructure to prevent impact and help control your operations. But at this point, we lack the maturity from those responsible for odor sources, and also from the the regulators. You know, it's kind of a conflict. I believe when they realize that there is a solution, you can get to a middle ground and work, then I believe we can advance. And we need to start somewhere. And I believe this event is very good. You know, I invited many people from Brazil and other friends. Oh, come watch and learn more about odor, because you know there are many people around the world discussing and researching about it. You know, in Brazil there are not many people, but we are starting. We need to start somewhere. You know.
So everyone is free to comment on that, but I guess from Daniela,
Yes.
has Chile faced these challenges, or is it still facing challenges similar like this?
Yes, of course, we have a lot of challenges, but I would like to refer what's driving odor control today, because as I said in my presentation, we have a huge conflict. And I can say that thanks to that, nowadays we have an advance in this topic. And today, odor control is driven by growing public awareness, of course, that a stricter environmental regulation. Before the conflict, we had just one regulation. Nowadays, we will have 3, and we will have more. And also, the demand for better quality of life in urban, industrial areas, and in rural areas as well. I think that communities are more informed, more sensitive of this pollutant, and I think that is important monitoring and the mitigation technology. As Deborah mentioned, the best available technology for us is so important. And I think that from the ministry perspective, odor control is not only about compliance. For us, it's not enough to have the regulation. Of course, that is the best, of course, but also about fostering trust between industries, citizens, and regulators. I think that we have to work on that. As Carlos said, the certificate, engagement, transparency, communication. I think that we can do it, but it's all together. And as I said in my presentation, when we are doing a regulation, for us is to look at the best available technology, and of course, how is the performance of this technology? And for that reason, it is important the monitoring of these technologies, you know? And we are working on all of this. For that reason, we have a strategy. For that reason, in Chile, we don't have just the regulation for this sector, the regulation for the other sector. No, we have other actions which complement the regulation. And as I said before, we are working for sure with the citizens, with the municipalities. That is our job.
Yeah, just to build up on what Daniela and Deborah said, I think that what's driving odor control, what we see as a supplier, is that there are like 3 big stakeholders here. One is social pressure, which increased with the social platforms. So before I could make a complaint to my local community, now I can build up a whole problem in a platform, you know, so it builds a lot of pressure to the industry. In the other side, you have the regulation, you know. In Chile, our case, it's tightening, as Daniela mentioned. Other countries, it's hard, like Deborah said, in Brazil, it's more subjective. So it becomes the law of the citizens of your communities rather than the general law. You need to make them feel that they can get along with your industry. But in the other side, what we see is that companies as well are building a more robust ESG commitment. So here in Chile, to speak about odor is much more frequent. To be very committed onto the cost is also much more. There's a big commitment, and the law helps a lot. But as well, I think even if there's not a law, the fact that you have citizens and that your prestige can come very down just because of the social pressure in social platforms. It's also working on putting industries more in front of other challenges. So I think we're in the right way, even though there's no law in some places. I think that we're working together with our clients to really work on it. And to be very fair, Deborah, the case that we presented was in Brazil. So that state of the art is what we're doing in Brazil. There's no law, but still what I'm trying to put here on the table is that the social pressure and the fact that industries want to work and live together with communities are working on this kind of technology development. So I want to be very fair on that, that Brazil is also in working in this.
So just a quick comment, something that called my attention while I think you were answering questions, Christian, is you said your clients, they don't want to respond to complaints. They want to avoid the problem happening. So that's an interesting, that was a very interesting remark from your side. So, and I think that is completely related to this social pressure and the amplification that social platforms.
Yeah. Well, we say, this is not different from a fire. So if I have a fire, it's very costly to put it down, you know, because it's already settled, it's big, so complaints is the fire. So it's much more cost effective not to have fires. And so once you go through too many complaints or the government puts a very big infringement payment or whatever, companies really twist from, I don't want to have fires, I want to really be preventive. I really want to walk around the communities and avoid any type of, because at the end, as Daniela mentioned, you want to build trust. I think that's very important to open communications between communities, not being a transactional relationship in which I need to respond to your complaint, but rather a build relationship where we can open doors, you can come in, you can see all our practices we're putting in effort to avoid any complaint. And so that builds a lot of trust and reduces pressure. So I think what we see is they really want to come into a preventive kind of approach rather than a corrective.
So Carlos, do you have anything to share on that? I think you've navigated a lot of these different environments, so you may have seen, maybe you have a very panoramic perspective on the topic. Oh, it's on mute, Carlos. You may have to unmute your microphone.
I was just saying that it's amazing listening to you. I really enjoy every single thing that you said. I've been here I just slept 2 hours, and still I get a lot of energy from you, because all the things that you say, all the things that you mention are really the reality on a day-to-day basis. We have many projects. We work with Christian in a couple of projects, and this is something that I believe that we should offer to plants that have odor problems. Yes, you could do your olfactometry and dispersion modeling, and this is a very important tool. Use it wisely. But then there are other tools like these platforms that you can use to have your data better structured, so that you can take decisions, not raw data all around, but things a bit more structured. You can have you can use field olfactometry, for example. Usually I prefer use it in a plant close to the sources to check performance. I disagree a bit on using regulations, but I don't want to go into that. But this is a tool, a fantastic tool that you can use in many cases. And I don't understand the people that says, listen, no, you cannot use this. No, of course, this is a very fantastic tool. That the only thing you have to know the limitations, and just that's it. And of course, I'm a big fan of citizen science. There've been a few talks in the European site on citizen science. The thing with the strict regulation limits, like the 8 other units proposed by Deborah, or it doesn't matter, even the one proposed by the Germans, the one other unit, the 1 hour, is that sometimes, not always, but sometimes the limit depends on the sensitivity of the population that is perceiving that aura. So for some people, 8 might be okay, even 20, but for all other people, 8 is too much, and even 5 is too much, and even 3 is too much. So in those cases in which you have a limit, but you still are having complaints, I think citizen science is a fantastic tool to be used in those cases. But this is just a tool, like all of the tools that have been mentioned now in this session, and also in the rest of the sessions. The spatial modeling also, you have to use it wisely. You have to see how you use your spatial model, how you parameterize your emission. You have to see the quality of the data that you are using, and there are many other technologies that we have spoken before, also like instrumental odor monitoring systems that we didn't mention about that in this session, but they were in previous sessions. E-nosis sensors that you can use to measure not only odorants but also odor when you use non-selective sensors. There are many tools that are there, and they are all useful. You cannot say, no, listen, you cannot use this one. No, because in some cases you use one, and in other cases you use another one, and depending on the project or the plant or the administration, one tool might be okay and the other tool might not be okay. And we have a few examples on that, and we have done a few presentations on that topic. But if you are not fixed with a certain methodology, then you can work with everything. We are holistic, as you mentioned, Ademir. Yes, I have a holistic vision, but we all should have a holistic vision, in the sense that we shouldn't be just attached to just a certain tool. There are many around, and you can use them, and they are there for you to be used.
Amazing. I think some of the comments Carlos made are a good introduction to one of the other topics for our discussion, which is complaint management. I have a comment to make about the tools, but I will leave it for when we are discussing the smart odor management and technologies. One of the points here is like, well, and when complaint happens, how you see this happening, or what are your suggestions for best ways of managing complaints?
I would say something. From my point of view, from the public sector, I think that we have a problem with how to handle complaints. And for sure, this problem is not just in Chile. In all Latin America, for example, people, when they have some problem, if they report this problem, the authority, they don't go immediately. Of course, they take time to go there and investigate the problem. And in this way, I think that handling complaints starts with transparency and fast response. And we are working on that. We are working in a protocol, which one will structure the process that ensure every report is acknowledged, investigated, and resolved in time. Because it's odors. It's impossible to wait days, and sometimes more than a week. Nobody solved the problem. For that reason, I think that it's important to talk about the solution. And as I told you, we are working in a protocol. It's almost ready. And this protocol is important to know which one is the authority who has to go in some sources, because in Chile, it's not just one authority which control odors. It's more than one. Therefore, it is important to have to have this information clear for the authorities, for the people, and of course that for the sources as well. I think in this way we can improve this problem.
Yeah, just to complement Daniela, I'll speak from the private sector side. So basically, the first thing you want to do, our experience is open a communication platform. So the fact is that you need to create an official communication point for people to feel heard. The first thing is to make people feel empathized with their problem. But once you start building trust, as Daniela said, I think that the issue becomes, how do I respond quickly? Because at the end, super nice that I tell you the problem, but if you're going to respond in 2 months, I don't want to live like this. So it's very important to act very fast. And that's when our presentations come in. The technology that we presented is very hard to know. Imagine an industrial site that has too many areas, too many variables, too many processes going around at the same time. Which one is the one that is provoking the problem? And that's when our platform helps a lot to them, because they had too many systems, disaggregated. And when you start aggregating information and automizing the analysis, it becomes much more easy to understand what's going on and to act quickly. So that's very important, and that's where our tool helps a lot. The other thing that helps a lot in our experience is building some sort of KPI. How are you going to measure that you act quickly or not? So you need to have a kind of a KPI in that sense. But most importantly, I think is the continuous improvement. So once you have a lot of complaints, yeah, it's a pain to have them. But if you analyze what's the typical areas that are involved in these problems, then you can do an improvement with a new technology, close an area, filter the whole error, and then reduce the baseline for the next whole year. So I think it's important to collect data, process data, and do definite improvement a long time. I think that's the way that we're approaching with our clients, and that works really well. Deborah, I think you want to say something?
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, Christian, I really like what you said. It's an automatic system is the best of the best tool, I believe, for because you can work with prevention and also fast response. About the complaints, I had one of my last slides. If you don't mind, I can share it again. I didn't have time to explain it very well. Let's see. I'll just share for one instant. Can you see it?
Yes.
Okay, so I talked a lot with Mike from Croix Sensory from the United States. They developed the one of the field of optometry instruments that are available nowadays. And I asked him, well, how do people deal with complaints in the US? And then we talked a lot, and I developed this flowchart based on what he told me. And so the suggestion is, once someone calls the environmental agency to present a complaint, you need to collect information. So date, hour, location, of the odor character and intensity, and basic meteorological conditions, and also the potential source if it's possible. And then you need to, the suggestion is to check if there is a record of validated odor complaints related to that source. Because it's common that the same source will give many complaints repeatedly, but some sources will you have the complaints just the first time. If it's your first time, then you have more work to do. You need to go into the field, our suggestion is to go to the, have an inspector go to the field, visit the complaint location with the field of akhtometer and a meteorological station to do this investigation. Of course, ideally that should be done as soon as possible. And then the inspector would stay there for about 1 hour and doing measurements every 10 minutes, and then check whether the result is above or below the 70T criteria. And if it's above 7, then the complaint is validated. And then the inspector should investigate more and visit maybe the possible location or origin of the odor, and ask them to have a definite deadline to do some reason or to say what they are doing to correct that. So that's our suggestion, you know, to a starting point. Or if you have a complaint from a source which is validated already, so you know, well, imagine a plant, there are always complaints about that plant. So the environmental agency inspector doesn't need to go to the field all the time. They could contact the source manager or environmental team and ask them to go to the field and verify the complaint. And so if that continues to occur, then they need to work together in a mitigation plan or something. So this is our suggestion, you know. And after the complaint is validated, it's important to give feedback to the community, like Christian said. So once the complaint is validated, you need to you know, get in touch with the person and say, well, we went to the field, we did the measurement, you were right, really there is a odor that's not acceptable, and the people responsible they were contacted and they are going to take some action. You know, I believe this is what the community wants, to get some feedback. Well, is someone doing something with my complaint, or I just will have to be complaining all the time with no solution? You know, I believe this is what they want, and I'm sure the suggestion is not one size fits all suggestion. I know it's a challenge, but this is a suggestion or a starting point. And this is how it is done in the US and for many jurisdictions. Stop the presentation.
Fantastic. Thank you for sharing your perspectives on complaint management. It's still open for more comments if you have anything to complement. But I also would like to maybe suggest another topic, which is smart odor management. And within that perspective, also the use of AI to aid in the management of odors. So maybe I will start with the comment I was going to make about tools. So Carlos mentioned that all the tools are useful if you know what's their role, how to apply them. And I take a quote from one of the Game of Thrones books when someone says there is a tool for every task and a task for every tool. So if I'm not mistaken, this is Tywin Lannister who says that. Someone who knows how to use tools and get tasks done. And that's the point. And one thing that we do not discuss much, and maybe we lack even the tools or the framework to do it, is uncertainty. So, you know, when I do my modeling, or when Deborah is proposing the regulation methodologies, we're talking about, oh, you apply the dispersion model, you compare that to a limit, but there is huge uncertainty in all that. Like my presentation kind of shows like some of the factors that when we include them, you see the results changing, and then we list a lot of things that we are not including at the moment that will affect the accuracy of those results. Like dispersion model as a whole, and this is not me saying against it. I'm a big fan of dispersion model, But the spatial model as a role, we have to understand it has, best case scenario is a factor of 2 uncertainty. If you do everything right, if you use the best model for the best case, you have a factor of 2 uncertainty. And that applies for other more sophisticated models as well. And the field measurements and the analytical measurements and all of them, and the sensors, they all have a lot of uncertainty. And I don't think this is something we see much discussed. How we will deal with that uncertainty in a formal point of view in terms of techniques and approaches, and also how we communicate it, because people don't like it. You know, one of the problems with science communication is that we cannot come and make this assertive, beautiful, uncontestable statements. If we're good scientists, you have to talk about uncertainty, you have to talk about limitations, and people sometimes see it as weakness. So that's another challenge, I guess, for this smart management. So, and that comes to the AI, right? AI is a tool. There will be many tasks where it can aid. But then how we communicate to people that AI will not solve all the odor problems in the world. So I leave that provocation to you guys. Maybe you have better ways to comment on that than I.
Well, Daniela, I think you were going to say something.
Just a short comment, because as part of the government, we are exploring this, and I would like to learn from you, of course, that we have to integrate AI, but for now, as I told you, we are exploring this. I don't have more comment of this, but for sure in the future we will.
Yeah. Well, I can give you some lights on what we know, at least, on what we're doing, what we're seeing in the industry, right? I can understand, ADME, your concern that there's always going to be some level of uncertainty on whatever tool that you're going to use, right? Nothing in life is certain 100%, not even our lives. But that doesn't mean that we cannot use something, because even if it has a 20% error, I'm 80% with more knowledge than doing nothing. So in that sense, I understand that it's a concern of what's the level of precision of this tool. But in the other point, if you don't do nothing, it's much more complex, it's much more harder. So I think in that, yeah, and I'll give you the word, but I think that I am a very big fan, and in our company, we're pushing very big in technology, very big. We're putting, we've seen the results in clients, real results. So we really believe in technology. I think these spatial models, real-time spatial models are working very well, especially because clients also want to see whether what they're paying is working. So they are the main ones doing patrols and comparing what they're feeling outside with what the model says. And in most cases, it works. So even though there's a dispersion, uncertainty, it really works. That's our main view. And just to finish, I think that the other thing that makes it very complex is that odors are very subjective, as many have said already. But there's also another problem for companies, that it's information asymmetry. So I'm an expert in pulp production. I'm an expert in animal farms. I'm not an expert in odor. So even if you know you have a problem, then the question is, what on earth all of the suppliers that are giving me as an alternative is the one that I need? And I think that makes it even more challenging for companies to, who do I trust? Where do I go? What do I invest? But I'm really, what we see honestly in the clients that we have mostly advanced, one of the ones that most advanced, the ones that we showed, we have all the tools separately, but now interconnected, and the ones that are monitoring risk are now about to start controlling the ones controlling odor. So with like neutralizers and other kind of, so I'm a big fan of technology that is going to help a lot. And I can see help in analysis of data, to fasten analysis. I can see big data to understand what kind of variables impact my community. I can see automation of my processes. So there's many things that I think that AI is going to work and help a lot.
Yeah, I would just jump in. I'm sorry, Daniela, I know you also would like to comment. Just because I would like to clarify, maybe if my talk came across as a discouragement of adopting new technologies, or it was the opposite of that. What I wanted to bring with this talk of uncertainty is that uncertainty is an intrinsic, as you said, is an intrinsic aspect of everything we do, and especially when we deal with environmental problems and especially something as complex as odor, complex for so many dimensions. So no, what I wanted to say is that uncertainty is an important part of it, and it's intrinsic. All the tools can be great. My point was more on how we deal with that from the perspective of communication with people who are not used to acknowledge uncertainty, like let's say overall, when you start to put this nuance of uncertainty in the interpretation of results or in the discussion of management decisions, people sometimes, I see people sometimes kind of getting lost and having the reaction of discrediting what you're doing. It's the total opposite of that.
You know, and you know what's the funniest part? That they don't want to see the reality.
Exactly.
So
I think that's my point.
I cannot believe these are my results. There's no way these results are real. So it must be your side that is wrong. That's very common.
And also for the regulator part of it, you know, like when the regulators have to deal with a problem, and maybe when you get in that point where the uncertainty of the result or the bias is making a difference, that will become a challenge that regulations must be ready to deal with. And my suggestion is what we are doing now, like education in a broader sense. It's like having people who understand this and who are continuously learning new things and continuously working towards better dealing with this from all the aspects. And just, I will conclude, but just as a side comment, you mentioned about the clients checking and doing field verification. So here comes a proposition for the future. If we can build this nice data set, if we can find, some sort of standardized or minimum quality ways of verifying, field data and dispersion studies, and we can start to build this big data set, which later can aid us in adopting more data-driven and big data approaches.
Yeah, definitely. And to your question, whether clients challenge their results because they cannot believe sometimes what they see, I think the only remedy for that is knowledge. So the more you know, the more you understand, the more you agree on results. The less you know, the opposite. So I think as companies mature, it's a mature process. So once you know nothing, it's very hard. But once you have walked along the road, it seems much more easy to interpret data, use it on your favor rather than rejecting it and not want to trust. So I think it's building knowledge, working with one of our big challenges is also passing on our knowledge to our clients. I think that's a big part. A lot of our work is on that, but yes, it's a challenge.
Sorry, Daniela, we kept you from talking for too long. You had comments to make on that, I believe. You wanted. Oh, I'm sorry. I had the impression you wanted to comment.
No. You can continue. If we have other questions, no problem. Okay. Deborah, want to talk?
Your question is very interesting, and about the uncertainties and also the use of AI. So some people ask me, well, what's the best methodology for odor monitoring or odor assessment? And I always answered, there's not one best methodology because all of them have drawbacks and benefits. So you need, normally you need at least 2 or 3 methodologies working together, because then they complement each other. And you know, dispersion modeling, it is it's calculation, it's not a measurement, but it tells you the region, all the area that's affected, and it gives you, integrates the meteorologic data. You know, but measuring in the field, it's measurement, it's more accurate. You know, it's a person going there and feeling with their own nose if they're feeling or not, but it's only a point measurement, and only at that time. So you cannot have people 24 hours smelling in every location. So you need to associate both methodologies, and also, like you said, operational variables like flow, like temperature, you know, because that's also a limitation from dispersion modeling. If you have a fixed emission rate, you cannot see the changes in daily basis. But you know, I believe that we should do, as Carlos said, do the right thing as soon as we can, or you know, if we don't do nothing, nothing will change. So I think we need to start from somewhere and try to improve as much as we can. I believe in Brazil, since we don't have much knowledge, like you said, someone will drive the need for looking for solutions. And the case you presented, Christian, your client had a big problem with community, and they decided they were going to do something because they wanted to solve the problem. They didn't want to have a bad relationship with their neighbors and the image of the company and all that, you know. So social and governance and environmental aspects. They are probably a multinational company which is thinking ahead. But most companies, they have so many problems to solve. They are just, you know, trying to solve the biggest ones, and odor is not a biggest problem for them until the government comes and says, well, no, you cannot have so much odor, you know. And so we need to work together also, you know, to try to educate, and also to give advice for all those involved, right?
Just a little comment. I think that related with the AI, with or without AI, the most important is the data, the quality of the data. Because many companies said that, oh, we have AI using in our data, in these tools. But which one is the data? Which one is the quality of the data who fit this AI? I think that is important nowadays. Another point is how to communicate this information, because it's true that citizens for sometimes they don't believe in the results. However, it is important if the company, for example, invite a citizen to the facility and check how they are working, as we mentioned before, different channels that people can report odors. You know that in Chile there are rural areas, and some people, they are not in connection with the cell phone. They prefer to call, they prefer to go, and we can have this different kind of channel in order to inform. How people can inform if there is a problem related with odors.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just to add on what Daniela said, sometimes I think there's a big hype on AI and it's going to solve the world, but honestly, clients are in a such basic level that sometimes you just need a very basic solution. So today, I think the first steps toward using technology is opening communication channels, as Daniela said, having basic systems like we use gas monitoring systems that they don't represent smell, but at least over a certain amount of ppms, you know there's an issue. So setting an alarm on an area that is not normal to go above this level, well, that's already a help. Okay, there's something happening here and not in the other side of the plant. Overlooking the dispersion model, yes. How is, for instance, our clients, what they're doing that is fantastic is, for instance, pulp mills, they need to release pressure of the system now and then. So the question is, at what time of the day can I release this pressure without impacting in the community? And so dispersion modeling forecasting allows you to know what are the windows along the day that you have no risk or little risk. And so they plan on their releases of the pressure, which they release, unfortunately, some smell, at times that they are not gonna bother so much the community. So really, I think we can speak about AI in the future, yes, but I think where we are now, it's at a more basic level, still developing knowledge and trespassing our knowledge to our clients and building from there. But yes, there's a lot of potential, but we're still most of clients in this basic level.
Awesome discussion. So our time here for a roundtable is coming to an end in about 10 minutes. In that sense, there is an important point for hearing your perspectives, which is what's the future perspective for young professionals? So let's say, I know some of my undergrad students were here watching presentation, and we have postgrad students, postdocs, and professionals in the environmental market. So considering the reality you've been navigating, like in Brazil, in Chile, and in other South American countries, how do you see opportunities and what are good career moves for young professionals to enter the odor management chain?
Yes, in that question, I would like to say that in Chile, before 2012, I think that at that time we didn't talk about this pollutant. Odor management, for me, I didn't hear about that in that time. I was working in air pollution. However, since I am working on this topic, imagine that after a decade, we already have the regulations. We already have the strategy. We are implementing this strategy. And thanks to our actions, I think that we open market. Open market in which way? Measurement. More companies need to measure odors, and of course that research. We need research. We like to work with academic, with universities. It's important to do that. And also, it is important to know the new technologies, the best available technology in order to avoid odors, or at least if it's less. But I think that thanks to the action that we are doing at the Ministry of Environment and other authorities as well, the market is bigger than before. And in the academia, it's important to know that nowadays there are just few careers who are learning about odor pollution, because it's common to learn about air pollution, water pollution, noise pollution, but who is teaching odor pollution in the academia? And I think that, as I said before, there are many actions that we are doing. The companies are doing as well, laboratories as well, but at the academy. And I think that point is a gap, but I hope that we will cover with more teachers who would like to teach about this topic. And I invite to learn about this topic that some people, we feel passionate about it.
Yeah, definitely. And I think there are like 3 big pillars of global opportunities. One is knowledge. So that's where what Daniela said fits in. Teachers, all the way of how do we create more people that knows of this complex field. Also, regulations helps a lot on companies needing people that knows about this. So more people that knows about the environmental impact and especially of odor is going to be appreciated on this tightening regulation system. And also in this preventive side, now I'm going to the private side, I'm the suppliers. We need to build technological platforms that help them prevent issues. And so for us, for instance, in our case, we're looking a lot to programmers, technological programmers that allows us to help this stack of solutions, and also data scientists, because once we grab all these data points, we need to make sense and build the algorithm and build risk matrix. So that's what we see as current trends and global, a lot of global opportunities here in Chile with the regulation moving very fast.
Fantastic. And interestingly, this topic has been discussed in the European step of our marathon. I was there just watching, and their comments were very similar to what you guys bring here. So from my very, very restricted sample of 2 continents, we can say we have a global trend in what are the opportunities and what are the factors which will open up these opportunities to young professionals. I personally feel really encouraged with the part that universities have to play in this, both as research, knowledge development, and also knowledge formation in terms of people that are qualified and educated in the topic. So I'll bring that message here to the university, and we'll spread it to the colleagues all over our network. I guess Deborah will do similar things. So any other remarks about these or any of the other topics we have discussed? We have 4 minutes until we receive our North American colleagues to pass the lemon to them.
One other thing that may be good to discuss is what's going on in the future. We see some trends that are not helping. For instance, urban encroachment. So industrial zones that were allowed now gets very developed with people, and every time there's more and more and more people, so the problem gets bigger rather than smaller. So I think that regulation on odor is important, but then also regulation on how we're gonna live and where it's available to construct and not is super important as well. I think the other trend is climate change. So you were used to some kind of climate, and in that climate you knew how to work. Now it's changing suddenly and putting a lot of more challenges to this issue that's already difficult. So I think humidity, rain, thunderstorms, everything is going to affect how you impact your community. Then also social media is a real issue. Social media amplifies public perception biases. So a minor incident can become a huge incident from day one. So I think treating social media and having a plan to work on that is super important as well. And building on information asymmetry, because otherwise clients are lost in this challenge on knowing what to implement and how to move forward. So I think those factors are also going to make this even more complex in the future, and we'll see how it works. But I'm very optimistic that companies are really putting an effort in this. I really see a genuine effort on trying to work with communities and make this coexisting better. So yeah, but it's going to put pressure.
Just a very quick comment on the climate change side. Not only the change in the climate itself changes all of our boundary conditions for dealing with the odor, but also the actions that we take for climate change mitigation and adaptation, increase in biomass production and waste recycling, alternative wastewater treatment methods, composting, waste to energy conversion, all of these things which we need to increase, like they must increase the adoption in this new climate conditions and in this effort to mitigate climate change. They also may have odor implications, which will we have to be able to manage.
100%.
Yes, and just I don't know how many minutes we have, but just a
1
small-
minute.
yeah. Okay, just about climate change, for sure, because some of the solutions that we can see in odors, of course, that it will mitigate some pollutant in climate change. But I wanted to say something about the problem that we have in Chile and of course in other countries in Latin America, and Christian mentioned, is the lack or maybe weak law in territorial planning. Because for us it's our reality that industries are close to the houses, but sometimes they are first and houses are coming, or in the opposite. That is a problem, because even with the best available technology, yes, the problem will be there. Therefore, I think that we have to work on that. As a public sector, we have to work in order to improve the law in territorial planning. And the last point is encourage other countries in Latin America to plan a strategy for odors, because as I said before, sometimes only a regulation is not enough. We have many problems in our countries in Latin America, but we can complement actions, different actions, in order to have this a solution for this problem. And for sure that if we work on these different actions, we can improve the quality of life of the people. That's all. Thank you very much.
Amazing. Thank you, Daniela. And so we welcome our North American friends, our North American colleagues who just joined our meeting. So some of them maybe watched the last part of our roundtable discussions. So welcome everyone. Just to give you an overview of some of the topics we discussed here, and also these are for the people just joining the YouTube channel now for the North American part of the talk. We had some interesting discussions about our challenges in implementing odor regulation, especially on the South American context. There was an interesting comments on the social pressure that comes with now the simplification promoted by social media platforms, and how community engagement and community perception is driving, in many cases, the odor management and odor control initiatives. That was an interesting part of our discussion. We also discussed about complaint management, and there was an interesting so Deborah is saying bye-bye. Thank you for your contributions, Deborah.
I think speakers can go now. Just stay here, moderators.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure. Nice to meet you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you to our amazing speakers. So yeah, we have this, and there was this interesting comment about management, or complaint management is about people feeling empathized, heard, and fast response. So I guess that's the message we take from that point. And then we had this interesting discussion on tools, and both traditional, let's call them traditional tools, and emerging tools, in terms of approaches and technology and models and all that can aid the management of odor issues. So we came with the idea that there is a tool for every task, a task for every tool, and the education is a key factor on both how to develop new tools, how to adopt new tools, how to communicate it. So education with the community, discuss with the regulators, with the government agencies which will be enforcing regulations, and with the clients themselves. So one of the expressions that Christian brought here was this knowledge asymmetry, sometimes between community and client, between expert and client, between government and experts. So, and the answer to that would be broader discussions and education programs. So bring the odor topic into universities, into the postgrad programs, and into the professional boards as well. The professional boards of engineers or chemists and biologists should be talking about odors as well. So this is a summary of our discussions. If I forgot anything, I welcome our other moderators to complement on that.
And very quickly, I want to say thank you for the committee for organizing this event. It's a way to start giving more knowledge, exactly as you were saying, to all of our clients, industries, governments, where best practices are all over the globe. So thank you very much, and I'm very happy to see a next edition next year. So thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you for your feedback, Christian.
Yeah, and I have to say goodbye as well because I have a meeting now, but thanks for the opportunity to share our experience. I am working at the Ministry of Environment in Chile, and we are talking about all of the topic, and thanks again. Bye-bye.
Thank you, Daniela. Bye-bye. You guys have a good day.
So
And we came up with two new challenges for you, right, Carlos?
yeah,
People are already expecting the next round of 24-hour marathon.
yeah.
And we will organize guidelines for a global open database of odor studies.
Yeah,
So we can feed our big data and data-driven approaches.
yeah. We'll see how we will look for someone to to do that, to coordinate things. All right, there is something that you have with you, right, Ademir, that you would like to share with the rest of the people here.
I do
All right.
have.
Oh, I
Okay.
do. All right. I've got my hands here. Ray Porter from Porter Odor Science.
Can you
ready-
throw it
ready
away?
to do the handoff.
So
One,
this came, already came
Ready?
there.
Yeah.
So
Oh, look at that.
Oh,
Look at us.
you have two.
Oh, man.
Just
that was
because
a
I
great
also
job.
threw away mine.
So fun
right.
fact, in Brazilian Portuguese, the word for lime and lemon is the same. So we consider them just two different types of lemon or lime. It's like you have
Alright.
different types of apples. And the green one is our preferred one for making the famous caipirinha drinks. So this one, I'll save it and put it to good use later on.
There we go.
I hope you guys have as much fun as we had doing this. It was awesome, and looking forward to what North America will bring for us.
All right.
All right.
Well,
Just-
thank you very much. As the handoff moderator coming into the North American segment, we have, I think, on the screen here, moderators and speakers for the handoff as we start the North American piece.
Have a wonderful time.
Thank you, Carlos.
Bye, everyone.
All right.
All the
Bye.
best.
All of you. Thank you.
Thank you.